After the lukewarm reception of the sequel trilogy, the Star Wars franchise was in dire need of something good. Thankfully, The Mandalorian on Disney Plus turned out to be exactly that and brought back a lot of angry fans. The way that the second season ended raised some questions about the series' continuity, but a new teaser may have put those concerns to rest. First up, The Mandalorian is coming back, and it's bigger than ever. It wouldn't be a stretch if we said that The Mandalorian is the most important Star Wars project right now. The way it brought back distraught audiences after the sequel trilogy and reintroduced them to the characters they love was masterful to say the least. And with Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni at the helm, you can bet we're going to get more of the same Mandalorian goodness in Season 3 as well. When The Mandalorian was initially announced during Star Wars Celebration 2019, it was a surprise for everyone. And even after all the trailers, literally no one knew about the existence of Baby Yoda, which took the internet by storm. Things are a bit different this time around though. We know what happens at the end of The Mandalorian Season 2, and more importantly, the Book of Boba Fett. If you aren't caught up with the spin-off Boba Fett series, here's what you need to know. Remember how Luke took Grogu away with him to train and become a Jedi in Mando Season 2? Well, scratch that, because that little green dude did not want to become a Jedi after all, and chose to go adventuring again with Din Djarin instead. So we now know that there's a lot more story to tell in The Mandalorian, and we have confirmation from Disney as well. Next, Disney announces the Mandalorian panel for Star Wars Celebration. The official Star Wars website has announced that we will be getting a special panel during the Star Wars Celebration event that will focus on The Mandalorian. Called Mando Plus, a conversation with Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, the panel will focus on all the past adventures that we've had with Mando and Grogu so far, and maybe a little tease for what the future holds as well. The panel will take place on May 28th, and we'll also probably have a full trailer for the Season 3 of The Mandalorian. Even if it doesn't though, we're always ready to listen to Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni talk about Star Wars. After all, these two have transformed the franchise and have finally brought it back on track. What to expect from Mando Plus at Star Wars Celebration? While Disney hasn't really confirmed what they'll talk about at the Mando Plus panel, we still have a rough idea of the things that they'll talk about. First things first, we need to set our expectations for this panel and not go into it with our hopes too high. This is not a panel focused on the future of Mandalorian, so they'll probably spend most of their time talking about the story thus far of the show. We'll see little behind-the-scenes details about both The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett, and also how we got to where we are now. Yeah, we know that this probably doesn't sound as exciting as fans would have hoped for, but you'd still want to tune in. Why? Because we'll get a lot of lore drops, and if you have any interest in knowing about the past and whereabouts of Grogu, Mando, and other characters in the series, then this panel will satiate all of your needs. Other than the lore, there's no way they can go without talking about some returning characters, like Luke Skywalker, Bo-Katan, and Ahsoka Tano. And with the novel about Luke's journey to the Sith planet Exegol also on the horizon, you can bet that there will be a lot of filling in the blanks, which is Dave Filoni's ballgame. Not only that, but we're also getting an Ahsoka spin-off series soon, so maybe we'll hear about that as well. And obviously, some more reactions and content for the most anticipated Star Wars series yet, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Let's hope they also bring out Hayden Christensen and formally announce his return as Anakin Skywalker. Now, all of these things are super exciting for any Star Wars fan, but they're not exactly talking about Mandalorian Season 3. Don't worry though, this doesn't mean that we won't get any glimpse of the future of the show. We can confirm that the Season 3 of The Mandalorian has finished shooting, and we will be getting a trailer for it during Star Wars Celebration. And who knows, maybe we'll get some Pedro Pascal action as well, and hear him talk about his experience while playing the role of our favorite Mandalorian, Din Djarin. What will happen in The Mandalorian Season 3? Now that we've got the official razzle-dazzle out of the way, it's time to talk about the real stuff. After everything that went down in Season 2 and the Book of Boba Fett, where could the story possibly go to keep things interesting? Well, let's start with the fact that Grogu is probably coming back to join Mando on his adventures. When Luke took him away at the end of Season 2, Din was in tears, and honestly, we were too. It was a really emotional and impactful ending, but a Mandalorian season without our little baby Yoda just doesn't feel right. And with Grogu's decision to not take the lightsaber at the end of the Book of Boba Fett, the Star Wars writers agree with that sentiment as well. However, now that the quest to deliver Grogu to Luke is finished, what conflict do we even get in this new season? Well, for starters, Moff Gideon will be back with vengeance on his mind. Giancarlo Esposito, the actor behind Moff Gideon, recently said in an interview that this is just the beginning. He then went on to explain that they're laying the groundwork for Seasons 3 and 4, and the universe that they are building is huge. Next, Season 3 will be very very different from the previous seasons. We presume that this is the start of a new era for the show, and we'll see a whole new direction and story. Maybe Mando will even join Bo-Katan at some point, and we'll see some Mandalorian against Sith action. However, these Star Wars shows have been really good at throwing curveballs at viewers and merging the main Skywalker stories with these shows. For instance, no one was expecting Luke Skywalker to make an appearance in both The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett. And of course, we know that Ahsoka has a role to play in all these things as well. So if we follow this timeline, could we also get a glimpse of Luke finally starting his Jedi Academy in Season 3? We might even get a little cameo from young Ben Solo, which would probably be the most hype Star Wars moment in a very long time. And honestly, at this point, literally anything is possible, so we're not keeping anything off the table, and your guess is as good as ours. Who will return to the cast of Mandalorian in Season 3? Now that we've talked about all the potential story beats for Season 3, let's talk about who's coming back and who isn't. So far, we've only had 3 confirmed actors making an appearance in The Mandalorian Season 3. Pedro Pascal is obvious as he plays the lead role of Din Djarin, and Giancarlo Esposito as Moff Gideon is also confirmed, with him probably being the main bad guy now. We'll also see Carl Weathers come back to play Greef Karga and act as Mando's source of information and potential new quests. The Mandalorian Season 3 will also introduce us to a new character who's being played by Back to the Future star Christopher Lloyd. However, the exact details of his role are still unknown. Other than that though, nothing is confirmed, but we can still make some educated guesses here. For instance, Gina Carano is not coming back to reprise her role as Cara Dune after she was kicked off for sharing offensive posts on social media. But someone who will probably make a return is Katie Sackhoff, who plays Bo-Katan, the Mandalorian warrior trying to prove herself as the rightful ruler of Mandalore. What about Temuera Morrison as Boba Fett and Ming-Na Wen as Fennec Shand though? They've played an integral role in Mando's arc, and it would be weird if they don't at least make a cameo appearance. But after they went off on their bounty hunting ways again in the Book of Boba Fett, no one really knows what they're up to. And last but not the least, Mark Hamill coming back to play Luke Skywalker. When a de-aged Mark Hamill entered the fray at the end of Season 2, it surprised everyone, and the internet went nuts with excitement. Since then, we've seen a lot more of him in the Book of Boba Fett as well, so seeing more of Luke in Season 3 is not out of the question. And if they really dive into Luke's efforts to start a Jedi training academy, this could get really interesting. That's a wrap for this video. What are you hoping to see in Mandalorian Season 3? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.